Okay, it's time for a Saturday morning Memorial Day commentary from one homunculero. Now, this is the time of year when the Arizona Regional Convention of Narcotics Anonymous happens. Now, this is a complete exercise in grandiosity and ludicrous behavior. Not to mention erroneous thinking and damaging beliefs. First of all, as I exposed yesterday in an article I reposted on Facebook, powerlessness when it comes to addiction and drugs is bullshit. It very simply is a self-created state in an individual which renders them in a state to be indoctrinated in cult thinking and behavior. Now, that doesn't mean that when people take drugs, it doesn't get out of control sometimes. Or seemingly from some individuals all the time. Yes, that's right. Some individuals, when they take drugs, get completely out of control until the drugs have knocked them out or they've run out. That happened to me. However, as most of us can, I was able to stop. And when I stopped by an act of will, I made a set of decisions which caused me to stop using drugs for good. I haven't had any drugs like that in 28 years plus. Now, the program itself of Narcotics Anonymous, the fellowship, helped me distract myself from my addiction long enough for me to overcome the cravings. Because it was the cravings that always led me back to using drugs when I really didn't want to and when I really knew it wasn't in my best interest. So I stopped using, and I've stayed stopped for a long time. Now, the steps confused, befuddled, baffled me. First of all, I was, for the most part, always an atheist. And I am today, and have been for many years, a very confident and confirmed atheist. The steps thrive on the idea of a secular notion of really what turns out to be a Christian-type God. It's not even a good Christian God, as it doesn't leave much up to your free will. There's a lot of contradictory determinism that's laid into it. Not to say that science itself doesn't have some determinism laid into it that is undesirable. Most certainly the 12-step program does. Now, on a good day, it distracts people and gets them away from drugs. And they form new friendships and family relationships that keep them away from the lifestyle until eventually the lifestyle changes and can change permanently, as it did in my case. Now, the association, the peer value there is great. However, the beliefs that get introduced are piss poor and damaging, self-deprecating. First of all, you're not powerless. Your life became unmanageable because you allowed it to get that way. That's where my empowerment came in. I realized I wasn't powerless. I was able to stop, and I was able to manage my life again after I stopped, and stopped the behaviors that went along with this almost obsessive drug use. 2, the second step, now it starts to get really fucking ridiculous. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity? Hell no. There was a power within me to overcome the whole melees of addiction, which, by the way, is not a disease, has never been proven as such, and probably never will be, because it really doesn't fit the criteria or the pathological descriptions to become a disease. And while behaviors could cause diseases to occur or render a system susceptible to disease, they themselves are not a disease. Such is the case with addiction. So I wasn't insane, even though I kept making the same mistakes and expecting different results. Those were all choices which I later realized that I could choose to do different and think differently. So my sanity so much was restored by my own efforts. Number 3, now it goes really off the chart in ridiculousness. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. What? Come on. Yeah, I did that many times when I was a kid, and it never worked because there is no God. Number 2, when I made up a higher power and believed in it, that seemed to work better. Actually, it was me who did everything. The God that I made up didn't do anything because, once again, it didn't exist. And now, on a good day in a magical sense, we could make an egregore or have a belief in God forms that we could invoke to do things for us. However, those are just temporary beliefs used to gain results, and not really the intention of the God in the 12-step program. We only have to read Appendix 2 in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous to get the gist of the filth and folly that misdirected set of beliefs leads us toward. 4, we made a fearless and searching moral inventory of ourselves. No, yeah, we did, but moral? Well, throughout the literature in the NA program, the whole moral word gets discounted and pretty much discarded. And yes, it is valuable to look at our behaviors past, present, and what we'd project for the future, and to evaluate them as to their usefulness. So that step does have some uses, but we've had to go through 3 bullshit pieces to get there. So 4 goes out the door also. There are other programs like CBT and the ABCs that are better than this, and it's common sense pretty much, and the adoption of a good ethical and moral code of beliefs, like maybe the 4 agreements, which definitely works quite a bit better in my practice, and has. 5, oh my God, how ridiculous. And the confidentiality of this has gone out the window. In so many cases, it's not even ridiculous. I can't even remember the step all the way anymore because it's so ridiculous. And 6 is even worse. It's even worse. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. What fucking shortcomings? Everybody's human. And how are we gauging and judging ourselves here? By some bullshit array of Christian beliefs? We think not. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Oh, here's where it gets really hazy, because corporations are not people, and yet we were admonished by our sponsors to go ahead and make amends to them and to the government, which is another non-personal entity. No. Hell no. And while it is good to redress any harm we may have caused and make a list, perhaps, if there is one, that's okay. Once again, you don't need the 12 steps to get there. Number 9, well, just a continuation of the stupidity of the whole process. 10, well, yeah, if you have common sense, you're doing this all the time anyway, and you're stopping yourself and improving your behavior as life goes on, and having good, healthy beliefs as well develop, which will correct your behavior in most cases all the way. 11, no God, no spirituality, no need for this type of nonsense. There's nothing to listen to except your own mental chatter. Meditation, however, is a great practice, which through mindfulness could calm and actually improve one's physical as well as mental health, if there is a such thing. 12, no. Why would we go out and do this? We've already exposed all the bullshit. Maybe the service that we do here, after having had an awakening of common sense, is to go out and tell those who experience addiction that there are some really sound, practical ways to deal with it, and that they have the personal power to stop on their own. Maybe that's the real direction this ought to go. At any rate, this has been 11 minutes of exposure of total bullshit. And this is for people who haven't really looked at this yet. Okay? And for those who are trapped in the cult, because that's what we have in all the 12-step programs, is a cult religion, a secular cult religion, which is total fucking crap. So, if you're contemplating leaving the fellowships, or the fellowship of NA or AA, or any of that, do it. Do it. If you're clean, you did it on your own. If you're not clean, or you have trouble staying clean, maybe you'll want to evaluate how useful taking drugs are to you and gain control over the use of them, which can be done. You know, and you also might want to look at different lifestyles associated with. For instance, the addicted to heroin lifestyle may not be very conducive in a common sense paradigm of reality. So you might want to look at that and other drugs which have a lot of hazards attending the lifestyle. So, you know, if you want to moderate your use, that's up to you. For most of us who have had serious addiction behavior, we're probably better off to get abstinent, remain abstinent, and replace our need to alter our reality and our feelings with other types of behaviors. And so, you know, here we go from there. I mean, really, seriously, if you're thinking of leaving, it is possible. Many of us have left over the years and have happier lives as a result of doing so. It doesn't mean you have to discard the friendships. And anybody that doesn't want to be your friend, that's still a program junkie, well, that's okay. They really weren't your true friend anyway. And the other ones that do choose, if they judge you, they keep it to themselves. Who cares anyway? And it's not personal. I don't take it personal. And if they don't judge you, all the merrier. You can have a deep and intimate friendship with these individuals. So if you're thinking of leaving, do it. You'll be happier. That's my experience. Anyway, Memorial Day, oh boy, we've got another one cooked up for you fuckers who like to extol the, quote, virtues, unquote, of the military. We'll get after that here on the next blog tomorrow.